This is going to be a video on momentum, specifically why momentum is important for you as an artist, even for me. So, what is momentum? This is the definition. Let's read it. It says the quantity of motion of a moving body measured as a product of its mass and velocity. Okay? Or the impetus gained by a moving object. The vehicle gained momentum as the road dipped. We're going to dip into some concepts today, some concepts about momentum, and you're going to try to comprehend the message that I'm giving here. So let's see. So momentum as an artist. What this means to me is your creative drive, making something every day or every week or as often as you can, but maintaining that sense of finishing something and moving on to the next thing and being like, okay, I'm going to finish this song and then I'm going to move on to the next one. I'm going to make this piece of Instagram content, then I'm going to make the next one. I'm going to post every day, or I'm going to post every couple days, or I'm going to post on this schedule, right? The momentum is what you've got behind you keeping that going, all right? So in my mind, to help this, quantity is more important than the individual quality of your work. Because especially if you're a beginner and you're working on finding your style or working on getting your process down or figuring out your sound or anything like that, you're going to just want to spit them out. Just fucking make songs as much as you can, make paintings as much as you can, and over time you will develop the skills required to make something amazing, a masterpiece, something you're really proud of. But if you're worrying about all of that stuff when you don't even have an audience to look at it, don't worry about it. Just make something. Just make it. And the more you do this, the more it'll allow you to reproduce consistent results. And consistency here is what we're really going for, because the more consistent you are, the more momentum you have behind you. And the more momentum you have, the harder it is to stop, right? Dream big. So what happens when you lose momentum, right? Whenever you fail to, and I don't even want to say failure. Failure is not the right word. Whenever you kind of have to take a step away, right? Like let's say you have a job, you're working a 9 to 5, you're working part-time, maybe you're going to school. Maybe you've got a dozen other interests that are taking your mind, and you get distracted and you stop posting about your music, or you stop working on paintings or whatever it is, right? Well, what happens? Well, much like Sisyphus, whenever he forgets about the boulder and pushing it, the rock falls down, okay? And I want to think about this metaphor for a second. The rock is what you're pushing up your hill, your grind, your hustle, your library of works, right? Whenever it falls down, I like to think about this quote, right, from good old Jeremy Clarkey. Its speed has never killed anyone. Suddenly becoming stationary, that's what gets you. And I want you to think about this in the Sisyphus boulder metaphor, right? Because he can be pushing this rock up all day. You can be posting on Instagram once a week or every day or whatever. You can be working on your grind. And the only thing that's gonna make you stop is not doing more, right? It's doing less. Okay, that's what's gonna get you. Okay, what do I got next? The rock. Let's talk more about the rock in this metaphor, okay? So the rock, I like to think, there we go. The rock, it's like, it's all your stuff. It's your collection of works. It's your Instagram account. It's your DeviantArt, your music, your library on Spotify, any of that. And the more you add to it, like the little beetle shitting out and adding to his mobile home, the bigger it gets and the more momentum you gain, okay? And what I want you to think about here is, let's go to the next slide. Come on. Is how to recover from dropping the rock, dropping the ball, okay? Because it's not that big of a deal. But in our heads, it can become a big deal when you've committed to this schedule of making a post on Instagram once every day. And you're doing really well, very consistent for a couple weeks, maybe a couple months, maybe even a year. But then you get discouraged because of something, or like we were talking about earlier, we get distracted with work or school. So how do you recover? it's really not that big of a deal. Just start again, okay? Just, it's like going to the gym. You know, you can take a couple weeks off, you can take a couple months off, maybe you got an injury, but as long as you know, start taking walks, you get back in the gym, maybe lift here and there, maybe prepare for a 5K, you know, it'll be okay. It'll all be okay. It's not that big of a deal. What's really the big deal is taking that absence and that break from your art and then making it an indefinite thing. That's what's really going to get you in the end, right? Because you're going to slowly grow disillusioned, and you're going to be like, oh, that stuff I was putting out, that was so good, no one ever listened to it, and now I can never go back to music or whatever. Well, you just didn't try hard enough. And I don't mean that in any type of bad way. It's true about myself too, and we just didn't try hard enough. You didn't keep consistent for long enough. You didn't keep pushing. If you truly believe you can make something happen and you truly believe in yourself, fucking make it happen. You will. I promise. It'll work. So here's some things to try. If you're feeling like you're in a rut and you just need something to do to try and change it up, okay? Click. Come on. Click. Click. Focus more on the process than the outcome. I like to do this a lot, especially when I'm making beats. I try not to be invested whatsoever in any individual track. I'm really interested in elevating my process, making myself better at my craft, finding new ways of making beats, finding new little tricks I can put in each individual one. Way more than I'm interested in how the beat's gonna sound out when I start it. And because of that, I've really streamlined the process of how I make instrumentals, where on my life, I swear to God, I've not spent more than like 30 minutes on a beat in the last year or two, okay? And what that means is I can sit down to make a beat whenever I do find the inspiration, or I find the moment, the energy to do it. And instead of just making one or spending all day on it, dude, I make like 5 or 6. Sometimes I make a dozen, you know, in one day, in one sitting. And that came from focusing more on the process than the outcome, because I don't care about any of the individual beats. I don't name them. I name them the key and BPM and what pad I recorded them onto on my SP404. Sometimes a vibe as like a description, but I don't name shit. You know, I'm just trying to pump them out and get as much out there as I can, because I know it's like fishing. I think I heard this from a Rick Rubin video one time, and he said it's like fishing. You can never know. If you're a fisherman, you don't go to the river or fucking wherever you fish and you're like, okay, I'm gonna catch 10 of these fish today. I'm gonna catch 15 of these and I'm gonna catch 12 of these. That's just not how it works. You might not catch any at all. You might catch one, you might catch a couple. They may all be too small and you have to throw them back. But if you keep fishing every day, eventually you'll have a day where either you just catch the best fish ever, the biggest fish, or you fucking catch 10 of them, or whatever your goal is as a fisherman. The same thing applies to art. You just got to do it as much as you can, as frequently as you can, and as consistently as you can, and it'll make you like a lightning rod to the process. You'll attract the energy of that. Okay, what I got next? Collaborate. This is a really important one. Get your friends involved. I know you got friends that are making stuff. Maybe it hasn't worked out in the past. Maybe you haven't asked them. Maybe you feel like they're better than you and you don't want to like beg. Or maybe they're worse than you, or you think that and you don't want to make anything with them because you think it'll sound bad. Well, I promise you, if you collaborate with one of those people where you think they're of different skill levels, you'll always find something new about yourself. And you'll make something cool, or maybe you won't. But the important part is that you will have made it, right? What do I got next? Change up your process. Try something new. If you're an FL producer, pirate Ableton. I didn't say that. If you're an Ableton producer, pirate FL. I didn't say that. You know, if you've only ever produced music on your laptop with the mouse, fucking go get a little 12-key keyboard. You know, maybe get a little drum pad. You know, record yourself with some MIDI stuff. Maybe if you only ever go to the studio spending money, try to invest in your own setup. Maybe get an interface and a mic and learn how to mix a bit. Maybe you can mix your friends' tracks. Just change it up. Do something else. Maybe if you're really stuck on a musical idea and you can't figure out how to get past that, look into the video side of your art, right? Because these days you have to do all of it, right? You can't just be the music person unless you're like really rich or already way up there and you're just making tracks in the studio all day and you've got a whole team behind you. If you're like me or like any of my friends, you don't have that. You don't have that. And you just have to do it yourself because no one else will do it for you. Go outside. You'll find a lot of inspiration if you go on a walk every day. Take your dog on a walk. Get one of those cat backpacks. Take your cat on a walk. I promise. Get some sun. It'll help. What do we got? Consistency leads to success. I'm going to summarize some of my talking points so far. If you do something every day, it becomes a habit. This is true about bad things, good things. If you're a smoker, if you are a gym addict, anything. If you do something every day, right, it'll become ingrained in you, and you'll become addicted to it no matter what it is. Music or painting or graphic design or writing, it's the same thing. You just have to make your body and brain accustomed to doing it every day or as frequently as you have the energy for. And it'll just manifest itself in your day. You'll just sit down and be like, "Oh fuck, I need to go make a beat." Or, "Oh, I've got this idea for a painting and I need to go slap it out real quick," or kind of sketch something out. Even if you don't like the thing you made, at least you made it. There's a YouTuber, what's his name? Nick D. He's an artist guy. He says done is better than perfect, and I really like that because done is better than perfect. Whenever I'm working on music with my friends, we try to just get what's natural out as fast as possible, right? And then just move on to the next thing. Maybe we can spend time mixing it later or mastering, but we're not going to go re-record anything. We're not going to go, fret about the song too much because it was that moment and it's past and we finished it and now it's on to the next thing. And that kind of goes back to the quantity over quality thing for me, at least, because if you are really consistent in your style and you're confident in the sound you want to go for, and just do as many pieces, projects as you can, it will align with your vision, right? And if your vision is strong, then whatever aligns with it will be as well. We as artists can be very self-critical of our work. So whenever you don't like something that you made, there's probably a million people out there that would like it, especially if they like your other stuff. They probably would like it. You're just so in your head, and maybe your vision is so strong, and maybe your work doesn't quite align with your vision yet. And so you don't think it's ready. You don't think it's good enough. You are a perfectionist in trying to make it work with what you have, and what you have may not be enough to live up to your ideal. You just have to do it anyways. You have to post it anyways. And I know that's hard. It can feel like it may be embarrassing, but dude, no, everyone is watching and no one is watching. And it sucks to say this, and I hope it doesn't hurt anyone's feelings, but no one cares. No one cares about making this video. No one cares that you're making, SoundCloud bangers. No one cares that, your art is going crazy in your bedroom. You have to make people care. I have to make people care. We all have to make someone care about our stuff. And whether that's through your story, your sheer talent, whatever it is, you have to just keep pushing and not be so critical of your work, because if you are, you'll just get stuck criticizing yourself. When I swear other people will criticize you enough. So just throw it out there, see what happens. Self-doubt will stop you from starting in the first place. And this kind of goes to what I was saying before. The more you doubt and worry about the thing you're working on and criticize yourself and nitpick it and all that, the longer it's going to take. And there's this stat, big quotation marks, stat I like to talk about, especially with artists I was working with in the studio. And it's that 1 million songs get posted on Spotify every day, supposedly, allegedly. Don't quote me on this. And with 1 million songs being posted every day, there's 3 things to consider about that. 90% of the artists on Spotify don't have more than 10 songs, right? So that means that people are posting a couple, they're posting 10, they're maybe posting 1, and then they're stopping because they didn't see major success with that first several tracks. And that can be really discouraging, but you have to remember 1 million songs a day. Okay, so if 90% of the artists aren't posting more than 10 songs, there's another thing to follow up with this. 90% of Spotify artists don't have more than 100 monthly listeners. And that's because most of the streams are going to giant artists like Taylor Swift, Bruno Mars. I don't know, I'm not that tapped in. People like that, big people. And only a very small portion of the streams are going to all the rest of us. And so you can't be so discouraged by only having 100 monthly listeners, because think about it. If you had 100 people in your house, if you had 100 people on your street listening to your song, playing it on their phones, you would notice. It would be crazy, right? So if you have 100 monthly listeners and you're in the 90th percentile of Spotify already, it's a huge, huge accomplishment. And it's nothing to shake your nuts at, okay? So we have to stay consistent, because if people aren't posting more than 10 songs, it's because they're giving up. And I promise from experience that all you have to do is keep posting songs and be consistent. Because without promo, without Instagram, without TikTok, in roughly 8 months, I've gone from no monthly listeners on Spotify to 1,300. And all I did was post a song every Tuesday with a cool canvas, one that I filmed myself on the same camera that I'm filming this now. So I've kind of gone off the rails here. What's next? The hero's journey. Okay, so this graph depicts the hero's journey. And we're all going through it. Okay, and you may be in a point, maybe a more down point in that journey right now. Or you may be in an up point. But what matters is you stay consistent and stay working on it. Because you will make it to the end. You will make it to your goals. You will see growth. Just none of it will happen quickly. None of it will. Why keep going? Why keep pushing? Wow, no one likes me. That's what you sound like. Okay? It's too hard. I got one more. Come on, click. Just fucking, there we go. Maybe you'll have fun. And at the end of the day, that's what's important, because if you're making things that you enjoy making or are having fun making or like the byproducts of, then that's all that matters. That's all that matters in this human experience, is that you have fun and form meaningful memories and experiences. In music, making music can form some of the most meaningful memories and experiences. Especially when you make a song that means so much to you, or a song that resonates with a lot of people. It's in those songs that really strike an emotional chord, you rarely intend to make them, I feel like. At least for me, all the things that I've made that really shook me to my core, it was like an accident. Or I woke up at like 4 a.m. and couldn't sleep, so I hopped on the laptop and started making something. It wasn't ever the scheduled planned times where I'm like, okay, I'm gonna sit down and make beats. Those times were the practice runs. You know, that was where I was getting my abilities in, where I was figuring out how to use the DAW, how I was figuring out how to, do anything. The times where I actually had a real spark of inspiration, my body and my mind knew what to do with it. Because these sparks of inspiration hit us all the time, but if you're not prepared and know what to do with it already when you don't have inspiration, what are you going to do? You're going to sit there and, overthink it, and nothing's going to happen. And as we've talked about before, 1 million songs on Spotify, you can't beat that spending so much time on your music. And I hate to say this, because I wish I could spend a month working on a song to get it perfect and incredible. But it's just not realistic if you're trying to gain traction on Spotify or social media. You need consistent, frequent releases. And as this graph depicts, it doesn't actually, I'm lying. As this graph depicts, releasing a song every week, every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks, I believe to be optimal. One of those choices. probably depending on your genre, depending on how much content you're able to create about it, and how much of a following you already have, right? But if you have no following, you're a producer, right? I'm talking to producers right now. If you're a producer and you have no following, if you're a producer and you have no following, no monthly listeners, release a song every week. Release a song every couple of days. Because I know you can. I know you can make beats like that. Just lock in, fucking make 10 beats, release one every week. See what happens. I promise you, you'll see results. Especially if you pitch them to the Spotify editorials. Now, you won't be guaranteed Spotify playlist spots, but I either just feel this or read it somewhere, but just the act of pitching them increase. What is it? No, okay, it puts you on the release radar for your followers. That's what it is. So even if you only have a couple followers, it still promotes it to them, but only if you pitch it to the Spotify editorial. I think that's what it is. But do all those things. Don't worry about Spotify playlisting. Don't go on Submit Hub. Don't spend money on any of that because no one's going to listen to your music. What you need to do is build up a catalog and post as much as you can. Because you will find more traction doing that. I swear, I promise. And that applies to everyone else as well. But specifically for producers, I know you can match the output to release a song a month. Now, if you're a singer-songwriter, if you're making electronic music and doing vocals, or if you're a band, maybe that's not so realistic. A song every 2 weeks, a song every 3 weeks is much more realistic to me. And if it's not for you, I don't know what to tell you. Maybe your work is so good that you don't need to be listening to me. But if you have to spend that much time on your music, spend that much time on your marketing. Spend that much time on your promotion. Don't spend 3-4 months on a song and drop it with no ad campaigns or no marketing or no release party and then come crying and saying, but my song was so good, why did nobody listen? You need to be consistent. You need to be spammy. You need to be annoying people. You need to be your number one biggest fan, knocking on doors, selling your CD on the corner if you really want to get people listening and things moving. So what's the timeline on this look like? Well, in my case, right, I've been doing music for a pretty long time now. But I gave up for a while, like a lot of people do. And I've come back to it since. And at the beginning of this year, I decided I was going to drop a song every week. Okay, and we're in July now, and I have 1,300 monthly listeners. And I get streams on my songs every day, and they're real listeners. And it's all from organic growth. I've been put on one Spotify editorial playlist. It's all like lo-fi beats. It's all stuff you can make on Splice. It's all real chill, real low-key things. I'm planning on doing the same thing with an electronic rave artist, like EDM stuff. And I think it'll prove, at least in a limited scenario, that all you need is to be consistent. And I think that goes for pretty much all social media, is definitely not just Spotify. But if you spent a year really locked in, really focused, you will have results by the end of it. It may not be as big as you want them to be. You may not have like 1 million monthly listeners or anything like that, but you will see growth. You will see changes, and you will find some sort of success, more than what you have now. I promise that. So lock in. Tell me what happens. And if you lied, or if I lied and nothing happens, then come find me and come beat me up or something. Dislike the video. And we'll try something else. Because if it doesn't work and you give up, then that's losing. If it doesn't work and you keep going, that's just a part of the hero's journey. Meow, 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 meow. Okay, so I think you get the point here. And I think that's all I have for today. So we'll come back soon and we'll figure out some results of what we've talked about today. Because here in a couple months, I'll make a video specifically about my experiences releasing a song a week And maybe that will give some more insight into what I'm talking about, and that will it'll give some stats behind this, some more credentials, some more concepts that you can really use to comprehend what I'm talking about. But yeah, that's it. Thank you.